said that, I'll pass it over to Councillor Campbell. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Daniels. First one here, declaration of financial interest. Seeing none, we'll move on to the agenda.
I'll move that the agenda be adopted as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. I just want to have an addition to our, under maybe other business, the letter we received in regards to, or
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The briefing note for the chip sealing and Marine Drive is not on the agenda either. So if you'd like to discuss that tonight, you would have to maybe on the backer, but it's not on the actual agenda. So you may want to add that.
for sure, then I'll add both of those items to our agenda. I guess under administration, that briefing note for the ice plant, or no, sorry, the chip seal. And then under other business, the letter we received about 24 Tamarack.
Mover and seconder, all in favor? Okay, thank you. No, all in favor? Carried, thanks. Sorry, Jane. The minutes of the Municipal Standing Committee of June 13th were reviewed and adopted at the regular meeting of council on June 20th, 2023. And the vision and values were reviewed. Any questions on those two? Councillor Couvret.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You seem surprised. I have a question. First of all, from the minutes of the last meeting of June 13th, I'd like to extend my kudos to administration. Two items that I questioned at that meeting have been addressed. I see our update for the zoning and bylaw is out to the public for tender. And last week we saw the item dealing with the capital plan for 2023 priorities and things. So thank you, sir. Under item 5F, under the reports, I brought up we were talking about traffic crosswalks and things. And during that conversation, I did bring up the idea that I would put myself forward as a volunteer to assist in reviewing the traffic study or master plan or something that we spent a crap load of money in the last year or so getting created. And I don't believe that particular report has come forward with through a formal process for mayor and council to look at recommendations and to implement some of the ideas that came from that particular study. So I'd like to see that somehow moved forward. So I'm sort of, I guess, putting a question out there. What's the next step to see that traffic or transport master plan or whatever it's called go through a formal process of review by mayor and council and the recommendations looked at.
SAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll put that on the schedule for the standing committees in August. Part of that may be through the protective services where there's a role to play in there, but we will bring it forward as part of the standing committees for the August cycle.
Are we going to include Councillor Couvret in all that? So he volunteered to work with administration on that? SEO?
Yes, we can include all of council will be involved in the review of that, but if there are any recommendations or implementation questions or issues, why we'll certainly include Councillor Couvret in as part of that work.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Cole?
I was just wondering if the crosswalk lights got synced before the end of the school year or if it's still ongoing.
Director,
Yeah, we're working on that right now, actually, as we speak. It should be done, I'm hoping, by the end of this week.
thank you. Any follow-up? Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the director's report.
Thank you, Councilor Campbell. So I'll start with my capital projects section of this. We've had 3 new variable speed pumps installed at the water plant. These pumps cycle glycol and keep our water heated throughout the winter. So we'll actually see some cost savings in electricity for that building. We've come to a sort of a halt at our water meter project because our water meters are unavailable, and hopefully they'll be available in September again. But what we have has been installed. On to public works. Compaction and covers happen at the landfill. The next time that this cover happens would be in the fall. But that is good. We've rotated where we are in the landfill. Also, it's ready to be shot by the engineer. Sewer flushing is still ongoing, but I believe is coming to an end. Sign repairs have been happening all over various locations around the community with the stock that we actually have. We've had 2 operators go to Yellowknife for solid waste management training, which also gave them training on our compactor. They came back both passing their course, and we can definitely see it in their work, the quality of their work. We've also had the supervisor of public works and myself attend SWANA in Yellowknife. This is very valuable as we're approaching the end of life in our current landfill cell, and we'll need to begin discussions on the next steps for opening new cells and closing off that cell. We have some greater training going on, actually started this week, as well as we have a multi-hog trainer finally coming here. He's had travel arrangements, accommodation issues, and what have you, but he should be here the week of the 24th. I'm also going to have some facilities staff join that training so that we can fully utilize that piece of equipment. Waterworks, we've done some clearing around the lagoons. We've began removing overgrowth around the lagoons, mowing, brushing, removal of small trees. This is to keep in line with our water license. We've also begun mowing around various facilities, water plant, lift stations, and hydrants. We did a partial up top mud induction because the mud buildup in the cells needed removal, as the water was rather turbid. But it needed to be done. We cleaned the sewer lift stations as well, as there was a buildup of grease as well as sludge all over the side. And then we applied our organic eater. This helps break down and soften organics and grease buildup to keep our lift stations functioning. In facility maintenance, we've been cleaning trees all over the community as we've been getting these strong winds. Trying to keep up with that is actually been pretty taxing, as well as we've been doing lots of prep for events around our community, as it's been very, very busy lately with all the activities going on, like track and field days, Salt Rivers celebrations, Canada Day. Those are just some examples. And we've had 5 staff in facilities take the parks and sports field training course, which explains soil prep to them, explains proper maintenance of our facilities. And this was very beneficial for the staff and all who attended past. Thank you. This is my report for July.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson?
Thank you. Thank you for your report. I don't know what SWAN means. If you could tell me what that means, that would be great. And then I just follow up in regards to the parks, and that is if there's a plan for, I don't know what the plan is. There a plan for watering parks, grass, like say like ballparks and fields and such like that?
Director?
Yeah, so it's SWANA, not SWAN, and SWANA is Solid Waste Management Association. So it's a bunch of professionals all over Canada, and we're part of the Northwest region. So we meet with all these other professionals, landfill owners from that, producers to other municipal governments and that run landfills, and we all get together and they do a bunch of brainstorming and a bunch of, it's actually a really beneficial event. And then for the parks, they have been doing some watering, but again, it comes down to resources. If we don't have the resources, we can't do that. We just prioritize what we can do within that facility for that department.
Follow up, Councillor.
Yeah, just thanks for that. That sounds really good for like that organization for everyone collectively comes together and you guys, hey, I'm having this kind of issue and this is what you're doing. Like, what are you doing in your place? That kind of conversation happens with that at that. Anyway, and then is all of our watering system for our parks has to be manned, or can't we just set a sprinkler unmanned and walk away? Like, how does that work?
Director?
I believe like all equipment, it would have to be maintained and watched, manned, yes, in case somebody went there and got hurt. I think the liabilities to our organization would be too great to just leave it.
Any other questions? Councillor Kroll.
I'm glad to hear that your multi-hog training is finally going to be occurring, and that'll enable you to use the machines winter and summer then as well.
Director Grenier?
So far, the only attachments we have for the multi-hog would be the sweeper and the boom mower. Therefore, we don't have a winter operation for it. I'm still waiting for my price to come back for a snow blower that we can use it to load trucks and also clean the trail with.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Tutsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to pass those down. You want to pass these? We're going to talk about the cemetery again, and actually, at this point, I am getting quite tired about bringing it up. Early in our term, our then SAO informed council that the town gotten into a habit of taking over things that other organizations didn't want to do. And the cemetery was one. Did you get one of these, Mr. Grenier? Oh, you got that. Or they can share. Anyways, there's been a lot of discussion about the cemetery. I've took it upon myself to go take some pictures, and the first picture is my grandson's grave site, which we've put in good order. We had quite a few visitors from out of town this week for the celebrations of life for people that passed on, and a lot of comments were made by who's responsible for the cemetery. A lot of people from out of town are going home. It's rather embarrassing, the comments that were made. And, when someone talks to you directly, you can't say, we don't have time to do it. To a lot of people, the cemetery is sacred land. And if we're going to take on the responsibility, then it's up for us to be responsible to do it. And looking at this gravesite, if you look at the pictures, issues were raised about the poplar trees. We've had some fall down already. And we've had a lot of new seedlings come up as a result of spring. Unfortunately, it's all around the graves. Some are sprouting out of the graves. And of course, we've heard a lot of commotion about the fence. To me, it's a rather strong word, but to me, this just seems like desecrated land. And if that was the intention of the town of Portsmouth to take it over to desecrate the cemetery, I'm not impressed. And if it means that we have to drop some projects or whatever to get the cemetery looking like a cemetery should, we got great big stumps. For a lot of people, this past weekend was a very embarrassing moment because they've had to talk to family members, loved ones. Yes, this is where we live. This is how we bury our people. This is how the town looks after the cemetery. And, it didn't take a lot of work to prepare my grandson's gravesite. In fact, it took very little, really. And I looked around the whole site. To me, there's no reason why this site looks like this. There's not a reason for it. I mean, now someone's going to have to go in there with their spade shovel and dig up all those poplars that are sprouting up all over the place. Because that's the only way you're going to get rid of it. I had the same problem in my backyard. I do every year. Got poplars next door to me. And every spring, there's about a dozen or more pop up. I have to go out with the shovel because you don't take the roots out. Going over with a lawnmower just doesn't work. We have to pay attention and show respect to these people who've been put to rest here because there's family members still walking above ground. That's simple. And to me, this graveyard is absolutely disgusting and shameful. And it's a black mark in Fort Smith. Something's got to be done here. That's my take. And it's unfortunate. I don't feel good about using the word desecrate. I really don't. But this topic has come up over and over about the cemetery. There's nothing wrong in saying, hey, we did something wrong here by ignoring the cemetery. It's even better if we correct what we haven't done. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tucky. I heard the same thing on the weekend too from a lot of people, different people coming to town. And last week we had a couple questions to the SAO about the compactor, cleaning, and some kits available. I thought when we purchased this compactor, we were going to use local people to repair it and clean it and do all the stuff. And then we see a check made out to, I can't remember what outfit it was, but Kavanaugh Brothers, in excess of $5,000 each, and then $5,000 on the kits. You were going to get us some answers today, SAO? Director?
So the service kits have to be ordered from that company because they are specific to that machine. And that was ordering 3 kits in a bulk to save for cost savings. The compactor cleaning wasn't to clean the compactor we have. It was to clean the compactor we returned to that organization when we ran a compactor as a test project. So when it came back to them, they had sent us a bill to clean it up back to the condition it was given to us in.
So that was the one we used previous to what we have now.
That is correct.
Okay, that makes, okay, thanks. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. Maybe just to follow up on the conversation about the graveyard, what is the work plan for the summer months when it comes to the graveyard and it's, addressing the, mowing or watering or general maintenance of that space?
Director Gurney.
Yeah, we don't do any watering at the graveyard. We do cutting there, and that consists with what we have for staff available. We had one staff given away to another organization for 6 weeks this summer, and that actually kind of hurt us a lot. And then on top of that, it's when people take time off. Summertime is a key for that, so then that also hinders that department, and all we can do is keep up with what we do have. So at one time, we had it scheduled for once a month cut, the best we can do. But if we don't have the resources to do it, we do choose. And again, with other events happening, we've sent all the resources to clean that area up or reactive response.
Thank you. Any follow-up? Councillor Couvret.
Thank you. I think this might be an opportunity for some of these organizations that keep coming to us for funding and things like this, is we provide them an opportunity to clean, maintain the graveyard and provide them a small fee for doing it. sort of a little contract to community groups or organizations to look after it on our behalf if it is a concern to many people, which it is. I think it's a small investment. It would go towards helping a community organization that needs to do fundraising and things like that. So sort of almost kill two birds with one stone. I know it's a very bad phrase to be using in context of cemetery, but I think we have to start looking at creative ways to get things done. And I think some of it is starting to ask the community to contribute in other ways other than individuals paying taxes and relying on us to do everything as a result of it. Like there's community groups out there. We've given in the last 5 months, we've given $22,000 in contributions out to community organizations. So it's just a thought for administration to look at as a creative way to address a pressing issue.
Thank you. Councillor Pissinger.
Yes, thank you. I agree with Councillor Couvret. We do have to get creative and ask the community for help. It's a great idea for these organizations to do some fundraising. That's it. And also the schools for community service hours. That's another option. And that's just to maintain it. I'm still going to say things about the fence. That's the number one thing people are also talking about is the fence. We did that. We need to fix that. That's what they're saying. So I think that should be done. We allocated extra funds to do that. So we need to correct it. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Couvret and Councillor Pissinger's idea of people, but we need to do something now. Do we hire summer students? I don't know if that's a personnel question. I don't know if I can ask that question. Or else hire local landscaping business. There's 2 or 3 of them in town to get caught up because we have a big event coming the 21st of July, approximately. And I think there'd be a lot of people coming back, walking through that place, those 2 places, and checking things out. And to get off the cemetery a bit here, and to clean our main street ditches right up before the 21st. That's only less than 2 weeks away now. And we got to be a showcase because everybody's going to be coming through Fort Smith here for that. So I just think we have to look at summer students or else contracted on. I'm not sure. I'm not saying what's the best idea, but we got to make a move quick here on this one. Thank you. Councillor Pissinger, sorry.
Yes, thank you. Since you mentioned looking good, the town of Fort Smith, I'd just like to give kudos to whoever's looking after the flowers, the watering, the baskets and stuff like that. They look awesome.
Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm very sympathetic to the Department of Municipal Services with staffing shortages. I think that staffing shortages and finding available people to work across the board is hard. I know as a, private business is hard to find. Government, we're trying hard to find spots. And even in our own looking for people within the organization of the town of Fort Smith, we struggle to find people to fill voids for staffing shortages. And so, I hear that, especially in the summer months when people are taking vacation, it just probably puts a lot of pressure on that whole department as a whole, because it does a lot of work in the community. And so I like what Councillor Couvret said about finding creative ways other ways to do fill those gaps, because it's not the department's fault. It's just really an all-encompassing shortage of people, manpower people to get jobs done, especially like maybe on the laborer level or even entry level type positions. So I don't know how we can't figure that out, but maybe contract, maybe this, like maybe that's something that they can come back to us and say, these are the solutions we have that could fill that void so we can get that job done from our administration.
SAO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council has a number of ways that they can express their give direction or express the things that are important to them. One way is through the budgeting process. And I hear that, everyone is concerned about the condition of the cemetery. And that we do, as the director said, we are challenged with staff shortages, staff that have been lent out to other organizations and that type of thing. And I'd just like to say that as council moves through the coming months, and when you're looking at budgeting and those types of things, that's the time also to express what's important to you and to set direction for the coming year. In the past, we have budgeted for the number of people that we have in the organization, and we don't do a good job, or haven't, with dealing with the amount of leave and things that staff are entitled to. And in the last collective bargaining agreement, there were even more days given to staff. So that means that if you consider a staff person who's had a few years of service, they've got some good leave, you could potentially see them gone for, a month, a year, or even more if they use all of their leave. And they do use their leave, and especially with their annual leave, they should be encouraged to use their leave. What that means is when you go through the budgeting process, not only do you need to budget for the person and their salary that is in the organization now, but you also need to account for the time that they're not going to be here, and how do we deal with that and maintain the level of service that we want in our organization. So as you go through the budgeting process, when you see the numbers come forward for 6 staff or 7 staff within the Department of Facility Maintenance, you also need to consider another half of a person, really, in order just to cover off for the leave for those persons in that organization. So I just encourage you that as you move forward, as you talk budget and things in the coming months, that you keep that in mind, that that's part of the way that you can set direction to administration and to the public, saying these things are important to us, so we're going to add money to the budget for the cemetery. We're going to add money for contracted costs for the cemetery, so that if we have to hire an outside organization and those types of things, that the money is there, or that we do it with our own resources. But the cemetery is important. I understand that. Respect for those who have passed, that is very important to me and to the members of the Municipal Services Department. Many of them have family members that have been buried there. We're faced with constraints, and one way that we can deal with that is to set that as a priority when it comes time to allocating financial resources to those things that are important to council.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mayor Daniels.
Yeah, we've been talking about this fence for a while here. There has been money put aside in it. What I suggest is maybe council and mayor, I guess, let's go with this fence. Let's do it, and let's put it away off our agenda. Let's get it done. So thanks.
Question. Okay. Did we pick a fence out, or are we just going to go with a black chain link fence, or are we just 4 foot high? I think that'll be appropriate. Everybody says just fence it off 4 feet high, a nice black one instead of galvanized. It'll look sharp.
Yeah, but that's exactly what council needs to talk about.
Yeah,
Is
but
the
we-
money is there. Nothing has been picked. There's no colors picked or nothing. We need to get to that point to get it.
And I feel the faster we sit down and discuss that, the better. Okay, any other questions? Nothing on that? And here's another one that's gonna be labor intensive, but I gotta bring it up. Our crack sealing of our roads. I have been here for a long time and I haven't seen very much crack sealing, and there's some big holes. And the people that know roads in asphalt say when we don't fill in the cracks and patch them, we are creating a more dangerous situation with every time it rains, it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. That's another one. I guess it goes back, but we got to do something this year. Budget time here again of replacing workers and everything. But we got to bite the bullet, I think, and just hire somebody reliable and a couple of laborers and go forward. So I'm asking, what are we going to do about these cracks in the road? Thanks. SEO? Director?
Yeah, so we were prepping the crack sealer today. It's funny you mentioned that. And actually that was work planned for July and August, so mid-July to mid-August, to fit in with our allotted resources in that department. As sewer flushing come to the close, crack sealing will begin.
Thank you. I like to hear that. And then just the other ones, couple follow-ups. The trailer park lift station, what's happening with the controls or the power? Have we sorted through that yet?
So we're still waiting for a response from the organization that builds the panel to see if we can switch it to a three-phase power. If we can switch it to a three-phase power within our budget, then we will no longer have problems there. The problem is it comes from single phase to three-phase, and it keeps kicking and shorting out the capacitors. So we've sent out a request to them to see how big of a job it would be or how expensive it would be to switch it so that it can go three-phase to three-phase. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Daniels?
Yeah, just when it comes to crack filling and that, you probably are aware of it anyway. That wood bison really needs one there. It's really got a lot of. So I'm just bringing it up from the residents that be great. You'd take the noose off my neck, so I would appreciate it.
Thank you. I have a, Councilor Crowe. Oh, I have a skateboard park. What is happening to our skateboard park? Is it in maintenance or what? We never see any kids out there. SEO? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so we went and did an evaluation of the skate park early in the season, and it's in need of some pretty major repairs if we want it to operate safely. It doesn't meet many of the current safety standards for a skateboard park. As an example, the half pipe that we had, every feature needs to be sealed in, and ours is completely open. We have looked at and think that we have the capacity in-house to fix some of these things, but portions of it are completely rotted out. It's not safe. We are keeping it closed so that we do not have someone being injured in there. And it's very unfortunate because it's a well-used piece of our facility and it's fantastic to have in our community, but I don't want the trade-off for that to be that we get a kid in there that gets really hurt. So it's been identified. We are looking at it. We are hoping that the staff member identified will be able to work on that project when they're back with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kroll.
It was a follow-up from your report from last month about the sewer flushing and perhaps dialing it down a little bit and using a camera. Have you guys given any more consideration to doing that?
Director Grenier.
I'm sorry, can you clarify on that question a bit? I need to understand what I'm being asked.
So apparently there's a lot of pressure with the sewer flusher and that it was responsible for flooding some basements and stuff. So there, you had mentioned in your report that you were going to, in the June month, that you're going to possibly use a camera or having the pressure dialed down a bit.
Oh, I'd probably help you with that one. Because the sewer, you gotta have high pressure to flush all that line down. And I don't think there's anything in the, to dial it down, but he could use his camera anytime he wants, but there's just no, dialing down. Be hard to do, to get the same flushing that he needs. Any other questions? I got one more question. What is happening with the sewage lagoon liner? Is it out to tender? Do we have the material? It's middle of July already. Oh, SAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, it is the middle of July. Yesterday, I received an email from the engineers who are doing the design and tender documents for the lagoon liner. They have provided us with the tender documents for review, and the Director of Municipal Services, the Water Department, and myself will be looking at those documents, and if they are suitable for going out to tender, it will be going out within the next week. But we need to review those documents.
Thank you. Any other questions? I seem like I'm just asking. Councillor Crowe.
I just see that the Simcoe report has been included in here. And I know we've been waiting for it, and I was just wondering why it takes so long for them to provide the report to us.
Director, Municipal Services.
I don't think it's fair for me to answer that question. I think that's something to do with Simcoe and their operation, maybe because he's traveling around and doing a bunch of ice plants, and when he finally gets back to his office, he does a mass reporting process, but that would be Simcoe's process, not ours.
Follow up, Councillor.
Yeah, there's just several, like I read through it all, and there's several different things identified that needs to be happening. I was just wondering if they now will provide you with a work plan to make sure that everything is going to be done by them so that we don't have any issues this fall with our arena or our curling club. I know the curling club is a whole other topic for the next discussion here, but just to make sure that the arena is going to be back on track.
Director of Municipal Services.
So there is a meeting that happens when they finish their work, and then work gets approved so that the next time he comes in, he travels with the appropriate gear, the tools, and supplies to get the work done. That's identified in that report.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. We had you on talking a few minutes. And we'll go into the bylaw policy review and development. Anybody want to make a move this?
I move that the amended GV 104 Standing Committee on Municipal Services policy be adopted as presented.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Passed. Thanks. Okay, next we're moving into administration. Briefing note, curling rink ice plant. SAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you have before you a briefing note on the curling rink ice plant. As you can see there from the background information, that the ice plant at the curling rink in the Community and Recreation Center is the original ice plant that was built and installed in 1996 by Simcoe. Simcoe has been servicing that ice plant and has had numerous problems with trying to keep that plant running. They have said that this plant is probably beyond the end of its useful life, and that the coolant used in the plant is no longer available, and anything is no longer being is now no longer readily available or being produced, and that anything that is on the market currently would be very expensive to obtain. Simcoe has provided a quote for a replacement ice plant for the curling rink. This is a self-contained ice plant that would be come in its own building, already ready to go, slid in place, do the electrical and plumbing connections, of course. And so the price that they have provided for that is $595,000.
Thank you for that report. Any questions? Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. So this wasn't in our budget or in our cap, like where are we going to get the money from to pay for this if we move on this item?
SAO.
We will look at the sources of funding that we have, our small communities funding, and our reserves. We'll have to do an analysis if that's the direction the council wants to go, is to pursue installing a new ice rink. Then we can come back with the motion to award the contract to Simcoe, along with an identification of where the funds would come from.
Thank you, Council. Oh, sorry about that, JL. Oh, Council, Deputy Mayor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of follow-up questions on the Simcoe plant. Did they give you a rough timeline on delivery once the decision was made to move that forward? And what is the likelihood of being able to lift that plant through one more season in the event that the new plant replacement is X number of months away?
SAO.
So I only caught the first part of that question, and the delivery time, according to the briefing note, is 12 months. What was the rest of the question? Sorry.
So we can definitely fire up the plant and we can definitely run the plant, but it's not promising. So there's a more likelihood that it will fail. It will fail this year, but there is a possible of firing it up and running it. I can't give any guarantees.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. So we're already outside our 12-month window for our season to start this year. So even if we decided on this today and said, all right, let's go ahead, we still won't even have this new ice plant installed and ready. So we have to plan, I would think, to run our old equipment and system and then just plan for the new one for our next season, because I think we've missed the window for the new build this year. So I hear what you're saying, but how, you're the ones talking to these Simcoe technicians on the daily. Like, can we make it one more and move on this?
Director of Municipal Services.
I can't make any promises that it'll last this season. I would like to manage the expectation for that organization or that group to say, you know what, we'll run the ice plant, we'll do the best we can, but if you lose your ice, you lose your ice. I can't promise that, not in good faith.
Thank you, Councillor Couvret.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking at the briefing note, thank you for all the information. We're looking at this as potentially a multi-year project. If we were to order it tomorrow, according to the briefing note, they require a 35% deposit. In their proposal, they want a 35% deposit, which would be basically we could theoretically look at budgeting $208,000 in our 2023 budget, and then look at the balance of $386,700 in our 2024. So it's still going to be $595,000, but spread the pain out a little bit that way. And sitting around and taking a couple more months to decide on this is just pushing the date of it being available for the following season even further back. So it's one of the items that I think we really need to look at. It is a part of our facility. We've made a commitment to support the curling club through various actions that we've taken in the past. So other than moving the curling rink to another ice plant, we got to bring the ice plant to the curling rink.
Deputy Mayor McDonald. Deputy Mayor? Okay, so SAO.
So yeah, recognizing that this would be a multi-year project, if it was council's decision to go ahead with this, certainly I'm certain that we could find the funds for the 35% down payment out of the current year capital budget. And then the balance of that would come with the delivery of the plant in 2024. As the director of municipal services said, that we intend to fire up the plant. We will definitely have discussions with the curling rink to advise them and manage their expectation that this is something that we will try and keep operating as long as we can. And but there are just not ice plants sitting around the country waiting to be installed. So it's unfortunate that this wasn't identified as part of the community and recreation center retrofit that occurred. And certainly as we get closer to developing an asset management plan for the town, we would look at facilities such as the community and recreation center and the arena, not only as a building of itself, but as a collection of assets being the various systems that operate those. So in future, when we were making decisions regarding capital projects and need to replace assets and that type of thing, we would look at not only a community center, but it would be a ice plant, it would be a mechanical system, it would be an electrical system, it would be a pool system. And because those have very different lifespans than buildings do. So as we build the asset management plan, it'll better inform council to be able to make decisions on not just a $5 million retrofit of the community center, but a replacement of an ice plant at year 15 and the replacement of a electrical system at year 10 or year 20, whatever it is. But that doesn't help this situation now, but we're working to try and be able to provide council with better decision-making tools in the future.
Thank you. Mayor Daniels.
Yes, on this topic, I'm willing to go ahead with it this year. I don't want to really put off too much on time because it's all about timing. It's about a year. If we follow through with it this year, it'll come in June or July next year, which is give us some time to put it up there. One of the questions is, do we have enough room to slide that new shed in there or that new mechanical system in there?
Director of Municipal Services.
Yes, I believe there's room to put that in there because the old would be removed.
Okay, yeah, like I said, I'm willing to move ahead with this. Next year, our debenture comes off the arena, but I don't really want to go there with anything. But yeah, sooner or later, we're going to have to deal with this. And these are just one of the things that we just can't put off. It's got to be done. And, and like you said, there was some stuff left out of that rec when it got done. And this is one of them. And there's another bigger ticket item that we're still dealing with, that we have to do it, whether we like it or not. It's just one of those things. So I'm willing to go ahead.
Thank you. Councillor Kroll.
So I would like to make a motion that we entertain the quote from Simcoe for the price of, it says it's a high-end price of $595,000 based over the 2 years to replace the curling club ice plant.
Seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, I got a question. I'm all for this replacing the plant. But did we ask Simcoe if they had any portable plants that we could use for the winter? Rent one? Because I've seen a couple places they do get them. Director.
No, we did not ask for standalone or standby portable plant. I could ask.
I'm all for moving this ahead. It'd be good just so we could have curling for this year guaranteed, that we're not going to fall apart halfway through. One day into it, they get all excited and no curling for the year. It just, if we had to pay $50,000 rent or 60, I think that's a small price to keep everybody involved in sports, because it's going to take forever to get everybody back. And that's all. Just if we could find out yes or no, if they could rent us or. Thank you. Any other questions? And I got a question. We're going to get the money. Do we have funds for that through gas tax or whatever? SEO.
We would have money in some of the funding pots that we have, whether it's from our own reserves or the CPI funding or that type of thing. So we will identify the source of the funding for this, and where we're spreading it over 2 years, it'll be much easier to find it in this year, and we can certainly put it as an item in next year's budget.
Thank you. Did you get all that, Deputy Mayor McDonald? Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All in favor? Passed unanimously. No. Thank you. That's moving on to the briefing note on Chip Seal Marine Drive. Where is it? SAO?
Yes, so the briefing note would have been sent to you electronically. We haven't provided a printed copy for you. If you would like, why, we can have one made. But basically, at the Corporate Services Committee, when the additional paving was brought forward, there was a request for administration to look into the possibility of chip sealing Marine Drive. In response to that request, we've got a price from Rose Construction out of Hay River to chip seal Marine Drive for a price of $768,000. This is a double application to give more durability, which is what they recommended. But they would be prepared to do a single application if requested at exactly half that price. There would be some increase in the O&M cost for Public Works to maintain it. However, we can maintain it with equipment we already own. If council wishes to go ahead with this, the contractor would have to do additional crushing and hauling in order to meet this obligation. So that's the briefing note on that. What I'd just like to say is that there was a discussion last year about May of last year regarding paving Marine Drive, and although the minutes of the meeting were pretty scarce, the minutes that I saw were basically the motion to have the paving around St. Isidore's Cemetery removed from the paving contract. I didn't really say the reason for it. I believe that part of it was money, but I believe part of it may have been with the concern of the stability of that area, with the entire length of Marine Drive being part of the environmental zone or the slide zone. So this This briefing note is for council's information. I don't want council to feel pressured in any way to have to make a decision on this tonight if they don't feel comfortable in doing so, or if they feel that they would like more information, engineering opinion, or that type of thing, that is a possibility that we may be able to get that. But this briefing note is in response to the request from council from corporate services meeting.
Do we need a motion before we discuss this or question? Okay. Councillor Couvret.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion that was brought forward last week was initiated by myself and taking into account the little over $500,000 we just spent on a new ice plant. I think this is a dead issue at this point. I know during the discussion last week, Mayor Daniels was concerned about dust created by traffic on Marine Drive, and maybe we want to investigate calcium application to the road this year if possible.
Councillor Deputy Mayor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to
Thank you. Mayor Daniels.
Yes, the price on chips, not chip seal. I just had it here. No, calcium. Yeah, it's the first run is $16,000. What I would suggest there is to put 2 runs for $32,000. As far as paving it, we have other projects that need it way more. I'm sorry, and is chip seal. Well, there's still other projects there, and it's a walkway in that. It'll keep the dust down, and that's probably how far that I would go with it. And I'm sorry for saying that, but we do have other bigger projects that we need to deal with that comes first for the people. And I'm sorry to be a bad guy, but that's just the reality of it. And I'd rather get the more important stuff that the people in the community needs. So that's where I'm going to stand on it. If you want to do 32, you could do that, and you still get both tonight. You still get the ice plant, and you still get the road salt. So it's not a losing battle. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Councillor Prevet and Deputy Mayor McDonald. I think that the best is to leave this with the Department of Public Works and their municipal services, and they'll get back to us on what exactly methods are available to us and safe to use in the Northwest Territories on our roadways. Thanks.
Councillor Kroll.
That's exactly what I was going to say, so thank you.
Councillor Pissinger.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I think we have to leave it with administration to come up with some options for us to use, because I think it's a community thing about the dust. We have to do something about that. I think that's their main concern. Thank you.
Well, I disagree with all you guys, because we go in paved Primrose Lane out at Bell Rock, and we got a number 1 viewpoint of our tourist attraction of Fort Smith. And we're just going to put down calcium. That's going to be slimy and everything down the road and everything. And we're not taking any of that into consideration. We're just the cost. We talked about $1 million before to pave it from one end to the other. We all said we weren't going to pave it because of the cost. We find some other opportunities when they're in town here to keep the costs down, and then we still voted down. I think we are missing out on a great opportunity to have that paved, and just going to go with dust seal. We'll be doing it 2 or 3 times a summer just to keep it all down, because that's right in the sand and everything, and allows this to evaporate. But that's my feeling, and I think we should be looking seriously at putting down some, even a paving or else chip seal. Thanks. Any other questions? So the motion's out there. Let's have a motion. Oh yeah, administration will bring us some stuff then. Okay, administration. Before 21st. Thank you. Moving on.
Either myself or the Director of Municipal Services will get back to council with information on dust control for Marine Drive.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I had another note. Other business, letter on 24 Tamarack. Would you like to bring that up? SEL. Councilor Ferguson?
Thank you. I might just start with the recommendation that I recommend that the town of Fort Smith waive the dump fees for 4N dump loads for the 24 Tamarack trailer demolition.
Thank you. A seconder? Councilor Kroll?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions? Mayor Daniels?
I think in the near future, when we're getting old of all our old buildings like that, we should meet the contractors half a quarter of the way even. There's mics on here. Yeah, like meet them a quarter of the way, because it's not their responsibility, right? And the faster we clean it up is the faster they can start building on it. Like, it's a give and take here. It's not always taking. So we should look at this in the future just to solve problems a lot faster. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Daniels. SAO?
Just for clarification, this was not the town's property. This was a property that was in arrears for property taxes and was sold at public auction as part of the tax collection process. So it wasn't actually a town property. I don't disagree with council as far as it would be a nice thing to clean it up, but just for clarification that it wasn't actually a town property that this individual purchased.
Thank you.
Yeah, to me, I guess it doesn't really matter whose property it is. I mean, we got to meet these people half the way if we're gonna want to do some stuff, clean our things. So to me, it doesn't make any difference at all. Thanks.
We have a mover and we have a seconder. Any other questions? All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, pass unanimously. Thank you. Excusing of councilors.
I'll move that Councillor Bolio be excused from the Municipal Service Standing Committee meeting on July 11th, 2023.
Seconder.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
The next Municipal Service Standing Committee will be held on August the 8th, 2023. A move to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the meeting at 9:03 p.m.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.